You can never really make the same mistake twice because the second time around, it's a choice. Breaking no contact most definitely would be a choice. But while you're going the straight and narrow and trying to stick to that good choice that you decided to make, there are a few mistakes that you can make along the way to sabotage your good efforts and all your hard work. So today we're talking about the common mistakes you could make when you have decided to go no contact. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Common Ego community. On this channel, we talk about emotional abuse, spirituality, self-help, and so much more. If those topics interest you, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss when I upload new content. Now, today we're talking about no contact. Now, first, I want to give you just a brief overview because I know that some of you are new to this channel and some of you are new to learning about emotional abuse and narcissism and all that stuff. So just a brief recap of what no contact is. No contact is actually pretty self-explanatory. It is no contact. But the thing is, sometimes we do need a little reminder because there are kind of soft ways to contact somebody where we leave the door open for communication, and maybe we don't even realize that we're doing it. You know, no contact means maybe blocking somebody's phone number, definitely not answering their calls, definitely not calling them or texting or responding to anything. It also means unfriending them, blocking them on social media, and not stalking their social profiles. It's no contact, literally as if this person does not exist to you. And people do this for various reasons. On this channel, we talk about emotional abuse. And if you've been in that situation with somebody who has been toxic to your emotional health or well-being, you may have decided to go no contact. And usually that decision is permanent. There are other reasons why people could go no contact that might be temporary. But either way, whether it is permanent or temporary, you want to stick to your guns while you are in that no contact zone. You definitely do not want to leave the door open for communication because, especially if you're dealing with somebody who's emotionally abusive, you're leaving the door open for manipulation, for them to try to manipulate you. And they are often successful because, unfortunately, these people are good at what they do. And also because when you're in this no contact zone, you might be a little bit vulnerable. You might be wanting to contact the person. You know, they might have good days and bad days, you might have ups and downs. So if you're watching this video right now and you are struggling to stick to no contact, maybe that person isn't even contacting you, but you can't stop stalking the social media and you can't stop, talking about the person, thinking about the person. You really just want to break no contact. It's probably for one of three reasons. And the first reason is you want that person to know how much they've hurt you. You want them to know that, maybe you think they're a terrible person, that you think they're a narcissist, that you think that they're completely toxic and shouldn't have any relationships with anybody. You want them to feel bad. You want them to feel guilty. Or maybe some of you out there are thinking that things could be different if they could finally get it. If somehow, by some miracle, you could explain to them in a way that they would understand how they broke your trust and how things went wrong. But since you've probably been down this road a million times before and they are really just choosing not to understand that because they don't want to change their ways, it's not going to work this time either. The second reason, and this is really common in the early days of no contact, regardless of the reasons why you went no contact in the first place, and that is you feel lonely or empty when this person isn't in your life. And breakups are hard, whether it's a toxic relationship that you've ended or just a regular relationship that just didn't work out. Breakups can be difficult. Now, if you are dealing with an emotionally abusive person, this could also be a result of the trauma bond. Now, I have a couple of videos on that, and I'm not going to go into that here, but I will link to those. If you haven't heard of the trauma bond, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I suggest you watch those videos if you have, or if you suspect you've been in an emotionally abusive relationship. And a third reason why you might want to break no contact is because you want to show this person. It's kind of like you want a little bit of a revenge. You want to show them how good you're doing and why they were foolish for letting you go. But regardless of your reason for wanting to break contact, it's helpful to examine really what's beneath it. What are you looking to accomplish? The third reason is it's very dangerous. If you break no contact to show an abusive person what they're missing out on, especially if you're dealing with a narcissist who has a tendency to hoover, which means come back into your life and suck you back into all of their drama and nonsense. If you're dealing with that type of person, you're kind of playing with fire, because as much as you might think that you're over it and that you're going to shut them down, you're going to be the one to hurt them this time, there's no guarantee. And when you're dealing with a manipulative person, it's just not worth what you have to lose. Okay, on to the mistakes you might make when trying to go no contact. Now, obviously, the biggest mistake you could make is contact when you're going no contact. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. But the things that we're talking about here today are the things that might lead you to contact. It might lead you down that road without realizing it. The first mistake I see people make when they go no contact is they kind of put their life on hold. It's as if they're saving space for the other person. Now, if this is a permanent change, if you're dealing with somebody who was emotionally abusive to you and you feel that they're toxic to you and the best decision is to get them out of your life, this is one of the worst things you can do. And you might even do it without realizing it. So I suggest kind of just taking a look at your life and where you stand. Are you actually moving on? Or are you staying in the same place and doing the same things that you know the other person would approve of, that that they would be happy with if they came back into your life? If you find yourself doing this, you might be more vulnerable should they come back and contact you again. So the second mistake I see people make when going no contact is going no contact with conditions or with an ultimatum. Now, we know that ultimatums just generally don't work. They almost never work. And conditional no contact works very rarely. Again, there are very few scenarios where you might actually want to keep the door open. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that somebody in your life, somebody really close to you, maybe it's a sibling or an adult child, is struggling with addiction. And as a result, they have hurt you, and they've probably hurt people around you. And you know that addiction is a disease. And you have decided that the best thing for everyone is to cut contact temporarily until this person can get help, until this person gets sober. That would be an example of a conditional no contact. So you might say something like, I can't have you in my life right now, but if you get sober, if you stop abusing drugs, if you are in recovery, feel free to reach out. Now, I feel like sometimes people read into the things that I say, so I'm going to make it clear. I'm not suggesting that you go no contact if somebody in your life has an addiction. It's a personal choice, and it's going to be based on your personal circumstances. But if you have made that decision, you may or may not want to make it a temporary or conditional no contact, and that is 100% your choice. In most other cases, there are a few other similar circumstances. I'm not going to get into them all, but in most cases, especially with what we talk about on this channel, no contact is a permanent rule, and that is for your own emotional health and well-being. Because if you make it conditional, if you make the mistake of making it conditional, like saying, as long as you're lying to me, I can't have you in my life, or as long as you're going to be cheating on me, I can't have you in my life. If someone has shown a pattern of bad behavior, a pattern of emotional abuse, a pattern that looks very similar to narcissism, there's the chances that they're going to change are slim to none, especially without any serious help. So the danger of putting a condition on it is that you kind of give them a loophole. You give that other person a loophole. Like they could come back and say, well, I'm not lying anymore. And of course, you probably don't believe them, but they might guilt you into hearing them out because you said, it's better, if you can help it, it's better to not give any conditions for yourself or for this other person if you've decided that this is a permanent no contact situation. And the third common mistake I see people make when they are going no contact is for looking for their own loopholes. So you've decided to go no contact, but if you're still asking about this person to their friends or family, and maybe hoping that they might hear about it and reach out to you, or if you're going to places where you might run into this person, again, if you're stalking their social media or posting things that might bait this person into replying if you know that they're stalking your social media. And you might be able to say, yes, I didn't make the first contact, but in doing this, you are baiting this person back into your life. So it's really a big no-no when it comes to no contact. Now, of course, even if you made the mistake of doing something like that, it's still up to you whether you want to let this person into your life or not. But no contact is really no contact. So the fourth most common mistake that I see people make, and I've done this myself in the past, is getting into a new relationship right after ending this one, right after going no contact. And this mostly just applies to the romantic relationship, but it could apply to other relationships too, just looking for a replacement for that person. So the danger in this, there are so many dangers in this, especially when we're talking about a romantic relationship, because essentially if you have just broken contact with this toxic person who played an important role in your life, you're not healed yet. You can't be. We don't just flip a switch and suddenly everything is great. Even though we might try to tell ourselves that that's what's going on, you run the risk of bringing toxicity into a new relationship. You also run the risk of meeting somebody else who's just as toxic or even more toxic. Because if you rush into a new relationship, you're not really spending a lot of time to vet this new person. You're kind of just looking for anyone who meets whatever criteria you have and then just jumping full force into that relationship. And you might be so eager for this to work so you could show that other person, or so that you could just stop thinking about that other person and get over that other person, that you miss seeing some red flags. If that relationship doesn't work out, then not only are you still dealing with the aftermath of this toxic relationship that you were in before, but now you have a new heartbreak on top of it. So you're just piling on top of all that stuff that needs to be processed and worked through. When we don't give ourselves time to heal, we're really doing ourselves a disservice, even though it might feel like the distraction is a good thing. Usually all it is just kind of a band-aid, and that wound underneath is still there. So the last common mistake that I see people make when going no contact, this one happens usually much later in the process, is thinking that you can become friends. If this person is clearly unhealed, yet you think somehow enough time has passed that you can become friends, that you might be able to have this person in your life to just a smaller capacity, and you end up taking a no contact rule that was meant to be permanent and making it temporary. I have to be honest, I gave you an example of a no contact that could be temporary and work out. But when it comes to just straight up emotional abuse or physical abuse, if you're in a relationship with somebody who has abused you in the past, the likelihood of them doing it again is really high. Anyone that I've seen make this mistake ends up regretting it, because you think that things are good. You think that, you think this person maybe has had enough time and they've changed. You think that maybe you've healed enough and you can handle whatever it is they have to throw at you. But again, I think this is a situation where we should really be evaluating why we're doing what we're doing. If you have made the decision to go no contact permanently with someone, no matter how long it's been, if you are thinking of reconsidering, if you're thinking of giving them another chance, try to remember the reasons why you went no contact in the first place. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope that sharing some of these common mistakes might help some of you avoid making them when you're on this no contact journey with the abusive person in your life. And if you can think of any other mistakes that maybe you've made or you've seen other people make, go ahead and share them in the comments below, because again, it might help somebody else avoid making that mistake in the future. So that's all I have for now. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting that like button, and if you'd like to see more like it, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.